should arrive there, I think, but it's like 1 something, 1 o'clock. My husband with drinks. So we just made it to the children's hospital. That's what it looks like. There's no one in here, that's why I'm not. That's why I'm filming, because no one's in here. So it's currently 3 in the morning, nearly 4. It's 3:42, not 3 in the morning. So, long story short, our daughter as of now does not need surgery. She's going to continue physical therapy for the next 6 months or until she's 1 year old or 1 year old. And they said if she wants surgery for another thing, which is not like, it's pretty much cosmetic, but that's another story. As of now, her head is not closed. If it was, then she would have to have surgery. And when I say closed, you know when babies have soft spots, so they thought those were already closed, and she's way too young for that. And because they won't be 6 months old until the first week of June, so they have a couple more days until then. They said her head is kind of big, but it's not abnormal. So with that being said, she doesn't need, almost said therapy. She does need therapy. She doesn't need surgery. We went there because we thought our daughter would need surgery. We went to the children's hospital, and so to get in, parking garage is free, but to get out is $20. They have different, like if you want it covered, like a parking garage that has a top, doesn't have a top, $5. With a top is $9. There was nowhere to park besides that parking garage. So when we went in there, it was free, even though the website said you had to pay $5 to $9. And it's anything about $20 to get out. So at one point, we misplaced a ticket. It turns out it was right in plain view. We were just stressing because the city we had to go into, it was a nightmare. Oh, and our battery pretty much exploded when we got to the house. So when we were like maybe 30 minutes to the house, 30 minutes, 45 minutes to, from the house, we started smelling this egg smell. And we turned the air, and it got really strong. So we ended up turning off the air, and it was very mild, but you could still smell. I don't know why. My husband is a mechanic, and he also does other things, but he's mainly a mechanic. He used to be a firefighter, and he has a passion for that. That's a whole other story, but back to what I was saying. Long story short, now we need to replace the car battery, and the vehicle's not ours, but we drove it, and they said they've been smelling that for a while, but for some reason they didn't inform us. And it turns out the battery is going to be about $300. So that's more and more money just flying away. But anyway, overall, I have 2 healthy kids. Thank the Lord, my babies do not need surgery. My daughter doesn't need surgery. My babies don't need surgery. But I'm happy. So right now, I'm just looking at my babies, and I can't help but to think how blessed I truly am, how blessed I am, how lucky I am to have 2 healthy children that are breathing. So with my daughter Gracie, my second born baby, they really wanted me to do selective reduction. And what that is when you choose which baby will basically get aborted. That's, long story short, that's like the cut and dry version of it. And that's because they kept saying that Gracie was going to be stillborn, and it's not because I'm fat, it's not because the pregnancy was unhealthy or anything like that. They were convinced that something was wrong with Gracie. And you might think, well, something had to be. They had to see something that we wasn't seeing. No. They did testing. Every test they did, we even did genetic testing. It all came back normal. Not even borderline normal, but all more than normal. But with Gracie, she had 2 umbilical cord, not umbilical cords. In her umbilical cord, she had 2 arteries instead of 3. And then so usually when you have that, this is not the case for everybody, clearly not the case for us. when that happens, your baby can have Down syndrome, other immoralities and stuff like that. So with Gracie, they couldn't see anything wrong with her on the screen, on the scan, but they're like, if your baby could potentially have Down syndrome and all this other stuff, how about you do a selective reduction so you don't have to have a child like that. The thing about it is, if I had a child like that, I would still want my child. Whether that's my biological child or not, there's different aspects when it comes to people with Down syndrome. Of course, like there's days it can be very, very difficult. But there's also people that have Down syndrome that have normal day-to-day lives. And there's so much that goes into Down syndrome. Of course, like it's a copy of 2 sets of chromosomes, but that doesn't mean your baby's going to be like this severely disabled person. Is that a possibility? Of course. But the reason I'm talking about this is because we almost, like, if we were naive, I'm not saying naive for people who get abortions or anything like that, but in our situation, I'm so glad we weren't naive and we listened and we did that to our child, only because it was unnecessary for us in our situation. Everyone else's situation is different, but sometimes I look at these babies and I'm so grateful. I'm always grateful, but I'm so grateful that we have 2 healthy children. Even though today we had to go to a bigger city to check on Lizzie's head and stuff like that, she's still very healthy, and I'm beyond grateful for that. I carried my babies exactly 38 weeks. My babies weighed over 6 pounds. And when they were born, there was a moment where we didn't think Gracie was breathing, but I'll get into that in another video. But overall, anyway, the reason I'm even saying all this is because I'm so grateful for these babies. If you heard that little cry, that's not my babies. My dog had puppies, 8 of them, and they're in our room temporarily because it flooded, but that's another story. But anyway, it's like 4 o'clock in the morning, so I'm gonna look at my babies for a few more minutes, and then I'm gonna go to sleep so I can be up with them. They'll probably be up in about 3 or 4 hours. They both just woke up a couple minutes ago, so I fed them, changed them, loved on them. Should have prayed over them in all reality. Last thing, I used to pray all the time, in general, before they were born, but when I got pregnant, I would pray and pray and pray. And now that they're born, I feel like all I do is I pray so much. Anyway, to my babies, I love you. I love both of you so much.